And we're live. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right, let's see. Let us see here. Okay. Why Donald Trump is so hated. Ghost, are you still on vacation? If you're not, are you still? I think you are, right? It's like 3 weeks or something. 3 weeks or something. I hope you're having fun, man. It's very exciting. Every time I think about what is happening, I'm like, that's very exciting. That's real good stuff. Makes me very happy. First order of news business is that there's a new dog in our house that at some point Kat's going to bring in, but we are going to try to find this puppy dog a home. But while he's here, I've got no complaints because it is a black German Shepherd puppy. Come on. I am sweating like crazy. Pretty good time over here. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. That's the most beautiful thing. Oh, man. Don't mess with our kids. Parental rights activists gather for prayer rallies nationwide. All right. What is that? While we wait for stragglers. Did the thing go out? Yeah. Parental rights activists nationwide are holding prayer rallies at each of the 50 state capitals and in Washington this weekend as part of an ongoing effort to turn individual states and the United States as a whole back to God. Interesting. Pray, fast, and stand for the turning of their state in America back to God. The rally is a collaboration between Her Voice movement and Her Voice wasn't one of the girls from Her Voice was one of the women from Her Voice was recently on the Whatever podcast, I think. I'm almost certain. And they were not kind to her. Hey, Ghost, while we wait for people, I have a question that I'm genuinely curious about your input. I don't know how much you watch the Whatever podcast, like if you keep up on it or if it's something you just kind of see here and there. But the host, Brian, has been having Andrew Wilson on like pretty consistently. He's ruining the show for me. I don't want to watch it anymore. The dude is obnoxious. He's annoying. He's the worst.
You broke up a little bit, Joe. Who's annoying?
Andrew Wilson. Do you know who that is?
Are you talking? You're talking about the? Yeah, I think he's kind of annoying too.
He's in the most recent ones, like some of the most recent ones that they put out. Jen, good to see you. He's just God, dude. Like, it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating because he's just tearing these girls apart, and you can tell he's just doing it for like clips. It's not productive. Half the time, he's not even right. But he cuts these girls off. I don't know, dude. It's just like it's ruined the show for me. And I used to really enjoy that show because it was like my one guilty pleasure. Like, we don't watch TV, we don't do anything like that. It was like the one entertainment thing that I, for whatever reason, I just like it. I can't tolerate it anymore. He even like overtalks Brian like it's the freaking Andrew Wilson show at this point. He's horrible. And
Yeah, I stopped watching kind of, I don't know, maybe a month and a half ago, 2 months ago.
It's redundant.
Yeah, it's the same way I feel about Ben Shapiro owning college students.
I get that. Yeah.
You
That's a
know,
good
it's
point.
like, yeah, anybody can do that,
Yeah. Yeah. It's not hard.
and they aren't. Andrew's not like trying to meet in the middle somewhere to like pull them over to the light side.
Exactly. Exactly. He's not trying to reach them. He's trying to own them. He's trying to make them look stupid. He's trying to make himself look smart. And he's just not that smart. He's a decent debater, but it's because he's like brutal. I genuinely feel bad for the
Yeah,
dude's wife, unless he's not like that in in his personal life, which is pretty possible.
he probably is, man.
Do you think his wife will like super chat sometimes during the show and like defend him? I couldn't imagine, man. I couldn't imagine. He's a terrible example.
Hey, I mean, if she's defending him and she's happy, I guess, whatever.
You can't hate it. Yeah, I suppose. Hey, friends. All right. Let me see. Oh God, yeah. All right, so I guess we start here. This, I don't know if you saw this, man, but this is rough. I think they're having another vote though on Monday. So this is this is kind of a shout out to a bigger story, but these 86 Republicans just voted to allow the government to spy on Americans without a warrant. Straight up tyrants. This is how our country turns into a China-style surveillance state hellhole. So they're the Hodge twins, are who are wonderful and fabulous, are putting the Hodge twins had a really funny kind of turn of their life too. I used to watch them when I was like into bodybuilding. They were like total muscle heads. All they say they're natural, but they, in my opinion, they probably weren't. But I don't know. Maybe they're genetically gifted. But they were hilarious, and they would just do ridiculous like dating YouTube videos and like just musclehead YouTube videos, and it was super funny. And then they went all political, but they're still super funny. But anyways, so they're putting these people on blast because these are all supposedly Republicans. And last week, I want to say on Thursday, but I could be wrong. They had a vote for whether the government could spy on America, which they're doing anyways, obviously, blah, blah, blah. But legally with no issues, and it's just like all out in the open. They can spy on American citizens for any reason at all, at any time. They don't have to go through any court process whatsoever. They don't have to get a warrant. And 86 Republicans voted for it. So I think they're running it again though on Monday, but I don't see why it would be any different. But this is probably one of the scariest things to me over the past week. And that's kind of saying something with everything that happened this week on the war front. But this is terrifying to me. Maybe it's just me, but I think it's horrifically terrifying if there's no checks and balances whatsoever. They just pick a name and then they can pull your cell records. They can go through your browsing history. I don't know exactly what the full extents are, but they don't need a warrant for anything, is my understanding. Zero warrant whatsoever. Super scary. Uh-oh. Oh, never mind.
I think they're doing it. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
I think they're doing it because they know they've been doing it, but they want to make it legal because they know it's going to become more difficult to keep it under wraps. So if they legalize it, then they won't have to, worry about hiding it as much anymore because it'll be legal.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you
That's
see
my
it?
idea. I don't know.
Do you see it as also kind of just another grain of sand in kind of just this bigger picture of, there is no privacy. There's no privacy. We don't need to check anything or get any go ahead to do anything at all. You have absolutely nothing that is private from the government. The government owns everything. You want the government to own everything. You want them to have access to everything because it's for your safety, blah, blah, blah. And they were throwing around national security. It was the whole crux of the entire thing was national security, national security. I see it. I guess I think you're right, but that's kind of the perspective that I take with everything like this is it's another desensitization of, you have zero privacy. Everything is completely open and we're going to do whatever we want with it. Which takes you here, Brazil. This is wild. Watching this whole escalation happen is really interesting. But it says, I'm reporting to you from Brazil, where a dramatic series of events are underway. At 5:52 p.m. Eastern Time today on April 6th, X Corporation, formerly known as Twitter, announced that a Brazilian court had forced it to, quote, block certain popular accounts in Brazil, end quote. Then, less than 1 hour later, the owner of X, Elon Musk, announced that X would defy the court's orders and lift all restrictions. Quote, as a result, said Musk, we will probably lose all revenue in Brazil and have to shut down our office there. But principles matter more than profit. At any moment, Brazil's Supreme Court could shut off all access to X or Twitter from the people of Brazil. It is not an exaggeration to say that Brazil is on the brink of a dictatorship at the hands of a totalitarian Supreme Court justice named Alexandre de Moraes. President Lula da Silva is participating in the push towards totalitarianism. Since taking office, Lula has massively increased government funding of the mainstream news media, most of which are encouraging increased censorship. Ruth, good to see you. What Lula and De Moraes are doing is an outrageous violation of Brazil's constitution and the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights. At this moment, Brazil is not yet a dictatorship. It still has elections, and the Brazilian people have other means at their disposal to confront authoritarianism. But the federal Supreme Court and the Superior Electoral Court are directly interfering in those elections through censorship. 3 days ago, I published a Twitter files for Brazil, and it goes on, it goes on, it goes on. What happened, and more has happened since then that I'm not up to date on. But what else happened that I am up to date on is that Elon started talking about having to pull the Twitter employees out of Brazil because they were starting to get word that they would be arrested. So Elon's talking about once we safely get them out of the country, then we will be more vocal and kind of put our foot down with what we're going to do. But I kind of see this like what happened with Rumble in, shoot, where was it? Was it France? Oh, I don't remember. But Rumble was told by, so I want to say it's France, but I could totally be wrong. Somewhere in Europe, I'm almost sure, said we need you to do this, this, and this, Rumble, because we don't want our citizens able to see this, this, or this. And Rumble's like, yeah, we're not going to do that. It's everything. Your people have a right to see anything they want. So whatever gets posted within reason of terms of service and general legality, that is it. And we fall inside of the United States of America. So that is our legal purview. And we're not going to change anything about that. So I want to say it's France, but I could be wrong. They blocked access to Rumble, I believe, period. I believe no one has access to Rumble in that area. And I see that happening here as well. It's likely going to be the outcome here as well. It's just another kind of scary step in censorship and control and just this lack of we have the lack of privacy that is now going to happen in the US more than likely, even after the revote on Monday. And then we have this lack of even accessibility that is starting to clamp down in different places. Brazil didn't used to be like this either, which is one of the wild things. To see somewhere that was relatively open, you had relative free reign to see and view whatever you wanted to. And just watching it kind of crank down pretty hard. And then in the United States, we've always kind of prided ourselves on freedom. It was like a tagline for the United States is general freedom. And then we're seeing that kind of slowly slip. And as well as privacy was another thing I feel like the United States really prided itself on was our right to privacy. And we're seeing that get stripped away. And not just in private, because we knew they were doing these things, the warrantless wiretapping and things. There were all these reports. I don't remember what it was, but it was a big deal at one point that the FBI had offices similar to how reportedly they had offices in old Twitter, like the United States government did, whatever agency. There were also a bunch of reports. I don't remember the name of it, but it was a big deal for a while talking about how, I believe it was the FBI, that had physical office space inside of AT&T, Sprint, Verizon, where they could just pull data as they wish. Don't know if that's true, but it's something that was a big deal at one point. John Fetterman just says breaking. Senator John Fetterman says he is not woke. Squatters have no rights. How can you even pretend this is anything other than you're just breaking the law? Fetterman also blasted soft on crime policies, which critics say contributed to the deadly shooting of New York Police Department Detective Jonathan Diller. Quote, I have gone to police funerals. If this individual is convicted, then he should spend the rest of his life in prison and never have an opportunity to get out. Based hoodie man. For real, though. He is just I love watching kind of his whole thing happen. Starting a year and a half or so ago, John Fetterman went from being someone that everybody hated pretty much and didn't respect to being someone who kind of keeps making stands from the other side of the aisle. And it's cool to see. I mean, like him or don't like him, it's there's positive stuff coming out of him. I think it's entertaining, but it's also it's good stuff. It's good that that's happening. This is getting really old with Boeing. Boeing 737 returns to Denver after engine issue. Southwest Airlines flight blah, operating a Boeing 737-800, had to return to Denver this morning shortly after takeoff. This was a couple days ago. The crew declared an emergency, reporting that part of the engine cowling had detached and was hanging precariously, which is an entertaining choice of words. The flight was initially en route to Houston. So yeah, it's just like flapping in the wind there. I think this is them probably making the emergency landing. How terrifying that would be if you were on an airplane, especially people who are already adverse to airplanes, like just have a general problem. Like Kat has a general problem with airplanes because it's just a huge piece of metal flying through the sky at incredible speeds and incredible heights. She has a massive problem with airplanes, and I always used to give her crap for it because I'm like, you're crazy. Because I've flown literally everywhere. I have been on so many airplanes in my life. It's abnormal, more than most people. And so I gave her a lot of crap for a very long time. And over the past 6 months, well, I said speed, Cat. I said speed as a hunk of metal flying through the sky. It's not the speed that you have a problem with. It's the hunk of metal flying in the sky thing. The incredible speed is just another descriptive addition to the sentence. But ever since the past 6 months or so, I've had to recant all of my crap that I've given Kat for her fear of flying, apologize, and tell her that she was right. The Boeing thing is an interesting thing too. Oh, hold on.
Let's go ahead and declare an emergency for Southwest 3695, and we'd like an immediate return. We got a piece of the engine cowling hanging off, apparently. Southwest 3695, roger that. Turn left heading 190, clear to Denver via radar vectors.
We have a part of the engine cowling hanging off, apparently. The interesting thing about the Boeing situation is if you go through the whole timeline for Boeing, starting as what it was, as it integrated into being essentially a government entity, a corporation, but essentially a government entity. I'm seeing this thing in the US, and it's been happening for a very long time. And I think what's happening is that it's all coming to light now, or it's becoming public now, and it's becoming well known and understood now, is that we're not really that different from China. In that, a lot of like the large corporations, I guess in China, it's relatively well known, I think, that all of the corporations essentially are beholden to the Chinese government, whether it has to do with funding or it has to do with anything at all. They are beholden to the Chinese government. So anything they're allowed to do or not allowed to do comes from the Chinese government, comes from the CCP. In the US, it didn't used to be like that. There was a pretty decent separation, not in all things. There has been an integration forever with certain companies and certain industries, but it's becoming more and more so. You're seeing, we saw, some of it during COVID, but way outside of COVID and way before COVID, you can kind of track this integration from or between US corporations and the US government. And Boeing is one of the great examples because Boeing has a huge position in a very non-government sector, which is like commercial airline. Generally non-government. Obviously, they have to work closely with the United States government due to like regulations and the fact that they're flying pieces of metal through the sky. But beyond that, relatively separate. It's just corporation operating as a business. Then they do other stuff though that is absolutely and entirely integrated with the government, having to do with military expenses or military funding and things like that. Glenn, how is the top news story not the release of the new Bluey episode this morning? What was the synopsis of the new Bluey episode? My daughter doesn't watch Bluey. She's too old. When she was like 2 or 3, she watched Bluey, but she's kind of been over it. So I'm not really up to speed on the recent Bluey releases, but I'm glad you told me. That is breaking news. But I find it very interesting to kind of watch. And it seems as though the more this corporation specifically, Boeing, has become integrated into the United States government, has become reliant on the United States government funding, and just has been generally involved more closely with the United States government, the product quality has just declined. And I would guess, and those charts would they would track. The more they become involved in the United States, the more they become reliant on the United States government funding, the more the United States government has been involved in their business, the product quality has diminished. And I would bet that would ring true with any other corporation that has kind of followed that path of being tied to the government. I just find it interesting. But I think this is one of the things that has been quiet, known by many, but quiet, and unknown by most, because most people are just wandering around life. And now it's plain as day. Now I feel like a lot of normal people know about it. And it's kind of a big deal. And there's the conspiracy tinfoil hat thing. I don't know if we talked about this one of the other times we talked about Boeing, but the tinfoil hat theory on this is that this is the beginning of the end of your ability to travel freely. If for some reason commercial flights became too dangerous so that either they could shut it down themselves and limit your ability to actually get a flight, or that so many things happen that people willingly choose to not travel via airlines anymore, that would kind of go towards the whole 2030, the 15-minute city type of scenario, where they're trying to keep people kind of where you are. Where you live is where you are. You will travel in your tight, close-knit area. And I think that starts, obviously, much bigger than now. I think it starts as, oh, well, you don't need to leave your state. Everything you have is in your state. You don't need to travel. If you want to go on vacation, there's Airbnbs. You can go to the lake. There's a big lake 2 hours from your house, but still within your state. You stay close. And then I think that will just become tighter and tighter and tighter. That zone will become smaller and smaller and smaller. And I think it's just one of those things potentially. Perhaps not. Perhaps it's a total conspiracy. But just a thought, I suppose. You're never too old for Bluey. Glenn, I have to disagree. Bluey, the voices just drive me insane. But I respect your right to say that about Bluey. You are well within your right. Let's see. Oh, good Lord, help me. Oh, this is really sad. So graphic. A staff member at a school in Denver, Colorado was arrested after she was caught on video beating a disabled child. What is going on in these schools? How are they vetting their staff? Here is the video. I'm not going to turn the volume on. You can just see her just hitting this kid, just kind of wailing on him while he sits next to her on the bus. Then there's a video of some of the injuries of the child. These are special needs children. They're disabled children. The child has bruises all over his leg from being punched repeatedly. You see her elbow him, smack his face against the glass. The depravity that has to be present for an adult human of any political, stance, of any race, of anything, for an adult human to beat on a child, period, means you are absolute scum and garbage. But to beat on a disabled child, you are like the lowest ring of humanity. It does not get all that much lower than that. It's brutal. It'll be interesting to see what the actual punishment is for her. I'm sure it will take some time to go through the legal process, but good God, the degeneracy. She's helicopter rides for people like her. 100% agree. 100% agree. All right, here's one of the good ones. New York Police Department bomb squad removed a grenade outside of Chase Bank in Manhattan. What? The perpetrators are yet to be identified. I have not seen this be updated either. The video doesn't really give you anything, but you can see the bomb squad carrying out, I don't remember what they call it, but it's some kind of case that they can put the explosive in, and it would contain it in case something does go off. But New York City just absolutely crumbling into ashes as a society has been insane to watch. We had the older lady who was just shoved aggressively down the stairs outside of her church. Her purse was taken, her car was stolen. Just senseless. Who could have possibly predicted it? Who would have possibly predicted that somebody in New York would put a grenade outside of a Chase Bank? I think anybody could have possibly predicted it at this point. I don't know. I used to love going to New York. I've been to New York. I've been to Manhattan a handful of times. Other parts of New York too, but in Manhattan is where it's the worst of the worst. It used to be really cool to go there. It's never been the safest place in the world. It's never been the cleanest place in the world. But the culture was truly awesome. It was something to see. To see the melting pot that was New York City, that was Manhattan. To see how before diversity became what it is now, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, when diversity was like truly something really good, because you had these cultures coming together, all of them adopting the general culture of the United States, but bringing their culture to somewhere like New York. And then you had all of these just really culturally diverse, and it feels gross saying that now because of what it means now, but 10 years ago perspective, this super culturally diverse, really awesome place where you could see and be around anything, all types of people, all types of culture. It was really, really neat. And now I could never imagine going back there ever again, unless something dramatically changes. There is 0% of me that desires to see Manhattan ever again at this point. And it's really sad. It's really sad. New York City used to be a really, really cool place to go. Here's the other story out of New York. So thug pushes 68-year-old woman down the stairs in front of a church and then steals her purse and car in Queens, New York. There is a special place in hell for this thug. The incident happened at St. Demetrius Greek Orthodox Church on 152nd Street. The woman was rushed to the hospital in critical condition after hitting her head against the concrete. She was going to the morning church service when the incident happened, according to the pastor. The man stole $300, a credit card, a cell phone, and her car. Crazy. Thankfully, the woman is now in stable condition. According to the New York Post, the suspect has not been found. I will just give like a warning because this is kind of brutal. So if you don't want to watch, just turn away for 10 seconds. The helicopter emoji is accurate. The kid runs up to the top of the stairs. Looks kid, young adult, whatever. This lady just completely oblivious. Walking up the stairs. She gets to the top. He shoves her down. She hits the concrete hard. And then he takes her purse and he runs off to her car and then takes her car. Oh, it looks like maybe he just strips her purse. Nah, she took it. He took it. Degeneracy. Absolute degeneracy. And that's New York. Like somebody who has the means to leave New York, I don't know why they're not leaving New York. I don't know what there is that would keep you there at this point.
My name's Clarissa.
All right, another graphic warning, cringe warning, all around warning of degeneracy at the greatest possible level. For anybody who is just listening, or you're listening to this later as a recording, this is a grown man who is, you could say, slightly overweight, not obese, but slightly overweight. The only reason I mention that is because he's in a floral, I suppose, pink spotted polka dot dress. He is in a polka dot dress, full beard, face makeup. I will describe it to you. It is clown-like in essence. He also has weird paint all over his arms, like black and dirt, it looks like, and pink. He has fairy wings as well. That's important to note. He's also wearing a tiara, and he has fake cuts all over his face. So it looks like a Halloween costume. It looks like a Halloween costume. I don't think even for Halloween it would be appropriate or not cringe. But on this day, and also because of the behavior, it's not a Halloween costume. And this is what he decides to say.
My name's Clarissa, and I'm the prettiest princess in the whole party because that's what my mom said. And if you say that I'm not, then my mom said that I can rip your head off. My mom's dead.
My mom's dead, he said.
She died. And I talk to her sometimes. I want to talk to her. My name's...
I can't describe what he did at the end, but it was like a horror exorcism demonic face. The best I got. Society is crumbling. The post says, why does society tolerate this lunacy? I feel like society doesn't. I feel like they really don't. I feel like it's the depths of the internet where we see this. It's not normal parts of the internet. It's not actual real society. I think we just see it because of the way that the internet and algorithms work. Maybe that's the bright side. Maybe that's me being idealistic, but I don't think it's normal. Kat said all of the things one can do with their time. Yeah, I mean, what is your job? He's probably like a bus driver or something. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. New court documents. Oh, hold on. Kat said there are also the people who cry about not having time to do meaningful things in life. That's true. Not segregating them is supporting them, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, that's true too. That's true too. Have I become too authoritarian? Oh, that's the messed up thing, man. It's like it's becoming. It used to just be live and let live, because people's weird things, they were either like so niche or so watered compared to like what those weird things are today. I feel like people's weird things 15 years ago or 10 years ago were like tolerable. It's like, yeah, that's weird. You're weird. You're a weird person, but do your thing, whatever. It's not in general, it's not harming anybody. It's just weird. Like maybe you make a scene when you go out in public because you dress a certain way or whatever it might be. But it was like tolerable. Society could tolerate it. And then we've talked about it a lot, but like it hit a point where toleration wasn't enough. You don't get to tolerate weird people anymore. You have to accept them. And it goes further than that. You don't just have to accept them. You have to promote them. You have to say, this is great. No, this is actually great. Not only do I tolerate you, not only do I accept you, I actually think what you're doing is phenomenal. You're so brave. It's so good for society. And that's too far. And I feel like that's where now like normal people are like, have I become too authoritarian? Because we've been forced into the position we're in. That's kind of my perspective on it. But it's just different now. It's different. People's weird things are just different now. New court document claims that 3-year-old Aurelie Naomi Proctor tried escaping while her family performed an exorcism on her that ended her life. This is wildly sad, extremely sad. They should all face the death penalty, this user on Twitter said. Aurelie was found not alive on the church altar after she fought for 20 hours as her mother, uncle, and grandfather performed an exorcism on her to cast out a demon. The video below was posted by her mom on YouTube months after the death, appearing to enjoy the spotlight. The girl reportedly told her mother, "I love you," as she was getting the exorcism. Quote, over the course of approximately 20 hours, Aurelie Doe fought for her life as 3 trusted adults forcibly grabbed her by the neck while this assault was ongoing, said Deputy District Attorney Rebecca Wise. Quote, Aurelie struggled to escape from her abusers, which is exactly what they are. The victim repeatedly said no. Aurelie's mother allegedly put her fingers down her throat and held her in a Superman position above the floor. This is a beautiful, beautiful little girl. She's so cute. It's I got all sorts of emotional when I was reading this the first time because it's atrocious. The death happened at Iglesia I don't know. It's a Hispanic church in downtown San Jose, California. Judge Hansley Chu has yet to decide if the district attorney has enough evidence for the case. Claudia Hernandez Santos, and Renee Trigueros Hernandez have all pleaded not guilty. I'm not going to play the video because it's 4 minutes long. I'll put all of the links in the the forum on Discord. So if you guys want to look into any of this stuff later, you can find it in there. But this was horrendous. This genuinely like got me all sorts of emotionally messed up when I was reading this. For the love of God. And this is a very, very small, because this is rare. It's not like this happens often, but like weird things like this within the Christian space. It's something to keep in mind when people take spirituality and the demonic thing and the charismatic kind of side of Christianity, when they take it too far and they start, there's this girl, I don't know, but I doubt this girl had any kind of demon in her. I very much doubt this. I don't think that's real. And I don't know how 3 adults who claim to have this Christianity in them could do anything to harm an innocent little girl. She's a toddler. Yes. How something like this happens, I don't know if it's mental illness, where I've thought about it before, like how do Christian people who, and we talked about it on Thursday, like if you are a Christian and it's actually who you are, it's like a part of your identity, you have this life change that happens, and your perspective on the world and on humans, on people, because they're spiritual beings, shifts, and you see all of that differently. I don't see how it's possible, because it's not, for Christians to commit acts of atrocity like this. These people were not Christian. So this is just 3 adults abusing a child and then ending her life. That's all that I see. Being at a church, irrelevant. The fact that they're doing an exorcism, irrelevant. It's a lie because it's not real. This is horrendous, and I don't think it's possible. I don't think Christian people are capable of it. Is I guess a hot take. I don't think real Christian people are capable of committing acts of atrocity. Because if you are a Christian, you've had life change. Because the Spirit would not allow that. The Spirit, like, there's no world in which they would participate with each other. The spirit of an individual and the Spirit of God become one in a sense. Therefore, I don't think the individual, I don't think they're capable of it. So it goes to kind of show, and is proof of concept of the idea that I don't think you're saved, quote unquote. I don't think you're going through the sanctification process here on earth prior to salvation at the end when you go to heaven. If you're capable at all of doing something like this, you are just a garbage person. You are just a liar, and you are just wearing Christianity as a name tag. You're delusional. You're crazy. So sad. Not going to play this whole thing because it's very long. If you have not heard or seen this, this is important for you to hear and see. So I really, really hope later you go into the forum on Discord. I'll show you where I'm going to put it on Discord. If you come down to the red section, the live streams, you come into news and culture, and you come down to the 413. As soon as we're done, I'll drop all the links in here. I highly, highly, highly recommend you come and watch this, regardless of your political leaning, regardless of anything. It's a hidden camera. A CIA officer and former FBI agent boasts, he's bragging about entrapping Americans, targeting Alex Jones, and 20 undercover FBI agents working the Capitol on January 6th. Quote, you can kind of put anyone in jail if you know what to do. You set them up. We call it a nudge. And that's in reference to, he was talking about how they weren't able to go after Alex Jones from a legal front because he hadn't done anything illegal. So what they did is they quote unquote nudged others to go after Alex Jones in civil court. And in civil court, they were able to win. And they were able to, well, I believe exactly what the guy said. The CIA officer said, cut him off at the knees through civil proceedings and take all of his money. Ghost said, I hope Alex sues them for double what they stole from him. Alex has already come out and said he's going to sue him. He said he's going to sue everybody since this came out. So I don't know. On one hand, I don't know who this guy is. I obviously have no way to verify who the man is. It seems as though everybody who is talking about, regardless of the political leaning, they're operating as if this is true, meaning it's probably true. It is really interesting to watch, though. So again, if I would recommend watching it, it's very eye-opening to just how things actually function, what is actually happening behind closed doors, and the things that Americans are just not privy to anymore. There's no transparency at this point. 30 million kids in danger. Consumer Reports demands immediate Lunchables ban. A ban on Lunchables. Consumer Reports says urgent USDA action is needed as tests reveal Lunchables' toxic lead and sodium levels threaten the health of 30 million students in the National School Lunch Program. Over 10,000 parents have signed a petition to strip these risky products from school menus, spotlighting the dire need for safer, healthier food choices for American children. Wild, because I love Lunchables. That's like one of the guilty child foods that I still like. It's not like I have them often, but it's very sad that a couple times a year or whatever it might be, I can't like grab a Lunchable. Also, though, like Lunchables are like $5 now, which I'm not down for. I remember when a Lunchable was like $1.50. Very sad economic state. Also very sad that it's killing kids. That's also very sad. It's pretty wild. All these things from like breakfast cereals coming out as basically death. And that's what Americans are feeding their children. If you're a parent, just like as a side note, if you're a parent and you feed your kid cereal in the morning, like on a regular basis, please stop. Please don't do that. Your child needs to have some kind of protein first thing in the morning. And then maybe some fruit if you feel the need to give them something sweet. Don't feed your children cereal in the morning. It's not good. It's not good. And you know it. I hope it's not just because you're lazy. But don't do that. Make oatmeal or something. At least. But they should have like some eggs or some toast or something like, not some toast. Eggs and some bacon. Like give them protein so that they function properly. Don't load children full of carbs and sugar at the beginning of the day. We should have a nutrition episode because that is something I'm very educated in. Nutrition and fitness were in my career for a very long time. Very passionate about it, especially with children. You need to feed your kids properly. And in the morning, cereal is not proper. Cereal is never proper, but absolutely not first thing in the morning. Set your kids up to succeed, not to fail. Just as a side note. I think that'd be great. Yeah, we should do that at some point. Nutrition is like I've been counting calories and I track my food. I've been doing this for like more than 10 years. I did bodybuilding for a long time. I used to be like 210 pounds. It's something I'm very, very passionate about. California, this is crazy. This is Oakland, California. Wait for this. So it says, this is an insane clip. Parts of what was once arguably one of the greatest places in the world now resembles a third world country. I don't know if that's true, but it did used to be really pretty. This is real life. The problem, a lot of kids are picky eaters. Here's the thing, and don't get mad at me. Your kid will eat if it's the only option to eat. I tell my kid all the time, you don't eat because it tastes good. We don't eat because it tastes good. How did humans function before refined sugar? How did humans function before salt was put in everything? It's not an excuse to me. I'm super strict parent with things like this. That's not real. That is something that has been developed over the recent history of humanity. It never existed before. Salt has been around for quite a while, but not the way that it is now. And sugar in everything was not a thing. It did not exist. And somehow humanity survived. Somehow children didn't die. They grew up. They ate what was around. Now, the problem is that we give them options. So don't give them options. This isn't directed at you, Lilith, at all. Just in general. Like I said, I'm very passionate about nutrition, not directed at anybody individually. Your child is a picky eater because they have options. Remove the options and get creative. Because the other side of that, without being a jerk and strict like me, is we have lots of options. So you can, if you put some time and energy into it, you can come up with all sorts of different things that are relatively healthy, if not completely healthy, that are also really good. I had to do it. My kid is, it falls under the category of a picky eater. So there are times where she's told, I'm sorry, but this is what we're eating. This is what is for dinner. And then after dinner, I'll treat you to something that you really enjoy. Or I'll work with her like, hey, come here. Let's go through some of this stuff together. These are your options, period. So you can curate what you want, but it's within this category. It's within these options. And they all, regardless of how she mixes and matches, it's going to involve things that are healthy. And other times it's just, that's what we're eating, dude. So it's what you're eating. You're not going to die because you eat something that you don't like. You're not going to die because it doesn't taste good to you. You're going to eat the chicken. You're going to eat the beef. Period. Lunchables are awful. Yes, Lunchables are terrible for you. They're terrible, terrible, terrible. All right, I'll get off the soapbox. This is Oakland, California. We don't need the sad music. Anybody who's watching, recording, or listening later, you're not looking at the screen. Yeah, it looks like a slum of India or a slum in Brazil. There's trash everywhere. There's pop-up homeless houses. It's a shanty town, essentially. It's really wild. I don't know how else to describe it beyond those things, but it's something to really look at and be like, this is what America is going to turn into. At least around major cities. At least around major cities. This is exactly what America is going to look like. As the video continues on, if this is the one I'm thinking of, I believe it is, there's just what is possibly by the end of it, over 100 cars, if not hundreds of cars, that have just been ransacked. All of the metal has been stripped off of them. The tires have been stripped off of them to be sold for drugs, presumably. Just abandoned vehicles everywhere with all of the sellable material stripped off the vehicles and basically just the frame of the car sitting there. The locusts of Revelation. It's crazy. This is crazy. And this is going to become common. If you go near certain parts of Chicago, that's what it looks like. If you go certain places in California, that's what it looks like. There's a McDonald's right there. All around it, abandoned vehicles, Shanty Town. That's Oakland, California. If you'd never been there, I promise you, that's not what it looked like. That's not what it used to look like. It's really, really wild. Says, I love you, Brad. All right. Tinfoil hats. Bill Gates. Tinfoil hat time. That was Brian. The friends have come to the stream. U.S. Congress secret plan to block the sun. So if you don't know, I don't remember the details, so don't scold me if I'm wrong on this. I think Kat knows more than me, but at one point, not so far in the past, Bill Gates had a plan where he wanted to essentially, I believe, again, don't scold me, launch dust into the atmosphere. And his thinking, because he's a very smart guy, was that this would apply some kind of coating to the atmosphere, therefore dulling the rays of the sun, therefore global warming. Am I super off base with that? I think that's relatively within the realm. Kat said he wanted to block the sun with dust, essentially. Okay, I'm right on. So yeah, he wanted to launch dust into the atmosphere because that would block the sun and therefore global warming bad. Also, I love you, Brian, more than Ghost does. This is literally how Snowpiercer starts. I don't know. Snowpiercer. Is that a movie? I got to watch that. I've never seen that. Yo, has anybody watched Fallout yet? I put Fallout on last night, and I got ready to just go to sleep. Like I was gonna put it on and pass out. I became enthralled because of how awful it is. Let me be fair. It's awful, but I stayed up super late watching it because I want to know what they do. I want to know how bad they destroy what was a pretty decent game. It's real bad, but I can't watching it. It's like watching a car accident. Yeah, and Joe kept me up until midnight watching it. We did. We don't ever stay up till midnight. I don't ever stay up that late. I usually can't stay up that late. I'll pass out long before that. I passed out for most of Three Body Problem, and now I have to go back and watch a lot of it because Kat is way ahead of me now. But I could not fall asleep with that crap on last night. Oh man, I wonder where shut up. You were being mean to me. You were being not nice. Anyway, so back to Bill Gates. Secret plan to block the sun. On April 2nd, the government covertly sprayed, quote, sun-blocking salt aerosols, end quote, in the sky over California to see if they could, quote, combat climate change, end quote, by blocking out some rays. My first question is this. Didn't Bill Gates' plan get shot down? It wasn't that the outcome? Wasn't the outcome that Bill Gates is like, yo, I would like to launch dust into the atmosphere. And America was like, no, we're not going to do that. And Bill Gates is like, okay, I'll keep doing weird stuff with my beer belly in private then. And that was the end of it. I guarantee Bill Gates is behind this because it's the same plan. So sun blocking salt aerosols. He's like, you're fine. If y'all won't let me launch dust into the atmosphere, we will launch salt aerosols because that makes more sense and because climate change bad. This experiment, kept under wraps to avoid public outcry, could pave the way for widespread artificial cloud cover. Note, the White House recently endorsed solar geoengineering as a potential climate solution. What's the harm in a few more chemicals sprayed into the air we breathe? Secret geoengineering test launches salt crystals above U.S. to block out the sun. Here is a diagram of sorts showing how the dust that Bill Gates launched into the atmosphere, I mean the salt aerosols that somebody who's not Bill Gates launched into the atmosphere in order to block the sun because climate change, how that's going to work. So 1, surface albedo enhancement. Got it. 2, increasing the reflectivity of marine clouds. Got it. 3, increasing the amount of stratospheric aerosol. Okay. 4, space-based methods. 5, decreasing the amount of high altitude cirrus. I don't know. Oh, is it Sirius? It's Sirius, right? Sirius clouds? Cyrus clouds? I don't know. I don't care. That's how it works. As if that actually explains anything. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. Oh, let's do this. Are they going to make me pay for it? So a note has been added since I found this. The source of this claim is a blog that misrepresents multiple facts. I am interested in what it misrepresents. Modified salt crystals were secretly launched into the atmosphere above the sun. We're going to go to Discord in 5 minutes. Just heads up. Atmosphere above San Francisco from the deck of a decommissioned aircraft carrier to, quote, fight climate change by deflecting the sun's rays away from Earth. This sounds exactly what the Twitter post says. Oh, they are going to make me pay for it. No, they're not. Okay. The public was neither consulted nor informed about the high-risk experiment and plans to block the sun with substances including aerosol and crystals. Hold on. Aren't aerosols not good for the environment? Aren't aerosols not good for the atmosphere? Isn't that the whole thing with aerosols? Isn't that why we were told for a very long time not to use aerosol? This seems counterproductive. Aerosol weren't climate activists. The ones who said aerosol was not good for the climate. And now we are using aerosol, and specifically that aerosol was not good for the atmosphere. didn't it like cause decaying, or I don't remember, but some kind of like degrading of the atmosphere or something. And now we're going to just put it right in the vein. Just put it right in the vein. The experiment in California comes 2 weeks after Tennessee passed a bill seeking to ban the spraying of chemicals into the atmosphere and to outlaw the government weather manipulation technique known as geoengineering. The move, led by researchers at the University of Washington, has renewed questions about how to effectively and ethically study promising climate technologies that could also harm communities and ecosystems in unexpected ways. The experiment is spraying microscopic salt particles into the air, and the secrecy surrounding its timing caught even some experts off guard. A solar geoengineering experiment in San Francisco could lead to brighter clouds that reflect the sun. The risks are numerous. Quote, since the experiment was kept under wraps until the test started, we are eager to see how public engagement is being planned and who will be involved. Interesting. While it complies with all current regulatory requirements, there is a clear need to re-examine what a strong regulatory framework must look like in a world where solar radiation modification experiments or experimentation is happening. The Coastal Atmospheric Aerosol Research and Engagement, or CARE, project is using specially built sprayers to shoot trillions of sea salt particles into the sky in an effort to increase the density and reflective capacity of marine clouds. This is exactly what the Twitter post said. This is why. Let me rant for 2 seconds again. This is why. 1, you don't believe everything you see on Twitter or anywhere else for that fact. You immediately leave the social media you are on and you research it. For the love of God, do that. Because nobody does that. They see it and they just believe it. Don't do that. Look elsewhere. 2, if you see community notes on Twitter, don't just believe it. Go to the freaking webpage and read it. Because this is exactly what the Twitter post said. So far, it's exactly the same. Solar radiation modification is controversial because the widespread use of technologies like marine cloud brightening could alter weather patterns in unclear ways and potentially limit the productivity of fisheries and farms. That's pretty significant. It also wouldn't address the main cause of climate change, the use of fossil fuels, and could lead to a catastrophic spike in global temperatures if major geoengineering activities were discontinued before greenhouse gases decreased to manageable levels. The University of Washington and Silver Lining, a geoengineering research advocacy group involved in the CARE project, declined interview requests. Oh, shocking. The mayor of Alameda, where the experiment is being conducted, didn't respond to email questions about the project. This is exactly what the Twitter post said. So please, look, that took us 5 minutes. Don't just believe garbage that you see on Twitter. All right. We are going to go to Discord for another like half hour or so, whatever. We'll see how long or from. Oh, okay. Actually, hold on. I think she's bringing a dog in. All right. Sorry about the mess. Okay, but the office is a wreck since we did all this construction. Is there a dog coming? All right. Well, while we wait for her to bring the dog in, we're going to Discord. If you don't know about the Discord, or you're watching this later as a recording, this is the Discord. Bunch of people in here, 184 at this point. Probably realistically a group of about 30 people who are relatively active. You can come to the events tab. This is when all the live streams are. It's got the time. It's got the link to the page where the stream will be posted. And you can see, you can RSVP and blah, 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 blah. If we have any other like things like movie night we do periodically, I think we're getting ready to do one of those again. You'll see that in here as well. So that's a good thing to follow. Theology, off topic, culture and news, conspiracy, the Bible, spirituality, science, etc. And then the live stream area where you can come in and you can talk during the live streams, which is mostly Thursday, but sometimes Saturday and sometimes Sunday too. And here is a dog. Hello, friend. Hey, little friend. We found a black German Shepherd today that was in a pretty horrific situation. So we brought another one home. So there are numerous dogs here now. There are numerous cats here now. There are numerous snakes here now. And there is one lizard here now. The house is the zoo. A new dog, a black German Shepherd, which is kind of like my dream dog. I've had pit bulls my whole life. I've never had a German Shepherd that is mine. I've been around a handful of them. Like, but he's gorgeous. He's so gorgeous. Hey, little buddy. Those are nice shoes. Don't eat those. Those are very nice shoes. For a minute. Yeah, go.
Come here.
Probably gonna mess with. No, let's not. No, let's not. I don't want to yank down the microphone or something. My loss. My loss is a puppy. Is a puppy. Yeah, he's yeah, like 6 months ish old. So pretty wild. Pretty wild. He's super sweet. He's very, very sweet. He was just in a total garbage situation. So he should be good. He'll get used to living here. And we spoil the absolute hell out of every animal in this house. So he should have good life. Good. Beautiful. All right. I'm going to shut YouTube off. You can go to Discord if you want to go through the rest of what we have for this evening. A lot of stuff on war. A lot of, kind of general stuff as well. And then whatever else comes up. But we'll go till 8:30, maybe a little bit later, depending. YouTube, have a lovely night. And Discord's already open if you're interested. Goodbye.